Good evening, YouTube. 5:57 p.m. 1/13/2018. Well, you remember me telling you about my spouse being on Nitro, right? Well, I ran across this picture this afternoon, and I snapped this picture from the inside of our back porch out to the back where he and my son were kind of working all they could, within health restrictions on John on our little patio before we got all this, how we had it latticed in and had it queued up. So anyway, I started looking right there, and I'd never really paid that much attention before. This is Bradley down here in his little wagon being Daddy's helper. Alright. But I believe that might be his Nitro. Okay? These, excuse my language, bastards put us through so much while he was under the care of a doctor, and not just one doctor. Okay? There was a handful of doctors at the VA that he was under the care of. Alright, so I'm going to enlarge this photo. Okay? And I've got this screen enlarged. See there in his right hand, and that would be about the size of the nitroglycerin bottle. And I was telling my son when I gave him this link to this image tonight, there were two different bottles that I remember. One of them had a black plastic lid. Okay, and the other one had a brown metallic lid that the paint had worn. It was scratched a little and become worn because he would keep it in his pocket. John would keep it in that pocket. See it bulging right? Well, if I can, I'll have to shrink it again. He's got like a handkerchief, his change. He kept that bottle of Nitro in the pocket. And with the change and the keys, but I think the change and the keys were in the right pocket. He was a right front pocket kind of guy when it came to his keys and change. It's just kind of natural because he's right-handed. So this was a handkerchief in front. I'm pretty sure. Unless he was busy and he had to stick something temporarily into his left pocket. Okay? But the lid would, the brown metallic lid would get scratched from being jostled around in the pocket with the keys and the pocket change. You know what I'm saying? But I'm pretty sure that that's what that is, you see? And you see this bunch of brick down here. Okay? Bradley, bless his heart, was going to help where he could. And he looks like he may have been upset in this picture. Had come over or go to Grandma's. Probably wanted to stay and help his daddy. Grandma was on her way or something. And the pit throwing starts. But anyway, he'd help what he could, and Dad said get that one kind of brick and put it over to, where and point, whatever. Stuff like that, Nothing really laborsome or just guy stuff. And yes, I help do guy stuff sometimes because I was John's helpmate, do you see? Like when we had that little contract to do that retaining wall that time, I was out there helping him with those blocks. Because for one thing, he had some ailments, like I pointed out to you. Like with the heart problems with the BA and Bothwell both. He had spent, I'm not sure how many days in Bothwell, but he was up there when my sisters and my Uncle John, my mother's brother, was in the hospital in the ICU at the same time John Myers was in the hospital on a different floor with his heart problem. Okay? And then the 10 days later at the VA, where I didn't still have a driver's license, so we got our friend Bob's oldest son. Bob brought him over, and then he and I went up in the van because Bob had something else to do, or Bob would have taken me himself. That's just the kind of guy Bob was. So his son drove me up there, and John was in the VA the 10 days, which included the entire 4th of July weekend. So instead of being out partying and picnicking, Bob's oldest son, and I forget their names, one was David and one was, oh jeez, I don't even know right now, but he was helping out a friend. Okay, I sat by John's bedside. You see how dirty he's gotten. His clothes used to get so filthy at times, you know. Go through spray and wash like crazy and have to soak them and every other thing. And I was trying to rearrange this photo on here, as you can see. I'm not exactly sure if both of the bottles with the one black lid and the other kind with the brown metallic scratched up lid from being in the pocket with the change and the keys were both amber, or if one was that yellowish kind. You know, for the Nitro they use those small glass bottles. Just small. So that this is what I had boiled this all down to when I found this on my Flickr. And we had, like I said, the tiniest little backyard. See, here's our porch. See the door frame, and then there was an old aquarium setting there. Or was that the microwave? Because we had a gigantic microwave too. Oh, it's one of the two. I see the reflection in the door there, but right there's like 2 or 3 concrete steps, and it's not very wide, like only a couple of yards, if that much wide. And then it went over to here where there was a garage sticking out in part of it, and then it was an L-shaped side yard, and then the driveway in front of the garage, of course, and then our lot next to that. Let's see, there's my guys right there, and I'm really freaking sure that in his hand there is his Nitro. And if so, that's the only picture that I know of that I've got that shows his Nitro in his hand. And they knew when they piled on us that he was under doctor's care. You see how they are? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was his handkerchief, because I always had to do up his handkerchiefs for him. You know, wash them, press them, make them nice, fold them down, nice little, you know, start them off every day with a fresh handkerchief. That's just what I did. It was my wife life. Okay? And in his left hand there might be the lid. If he may have already taken the lid off, okay, and was gonna pop a Nitro, as I call it. And see, he had started to age. He was 37 when I was 23, and we got married. We met in May of '85. right before his divorce from wife number 2 went through. And I wouldn't hold his hand or nothing. I'm a firm believer that when someone's still got one relationship going, they should either keep it going or quit it entirely. Because it puts another person smack dab in the middle of where they do not want or need to be most of the time. Okay, so right after that, things changed for Mr. Myers. After he showed girly girl me his divorce papers freshly signed. I mean, I probably saw him before the ink was even dry on him. You know, he's like, she signed it, it's official. But I made him wait. I mean, I wouldn't even hold his hand. But then, like I started to say, it changed for him. We were together as much as we could. We were doing it in his boarding house room. We were doing it in the back of my dad's truck. We were doing it in the swimming pool at the campground, on the picnic table at the park, on my mother's couch in her front room. You name it. And we kept on that way. We just did for years and years and years. The entire 10 years from 85 to when they put the brakes on our Franken-marriage. I think that's what I'll title this. Franken-marriage and Nitro. And because of the way they cut off one piece of us and replaced it with their thing of it, you know? Ours, what we did in our life seemed to never ever please those people, was never ever good enough. Never. And I came to realize too this afternoon, before I forget it, because I forgot it earlier, right before I got back on here, that part of what his daughter really, really wanted didn't have anything to do with Army. Didn't have anything to do with money at that point. Because she didn't know, you know, and she still doesn't really know. I mean, he's pretty much penniless on his own. Alright? With me being his payee. She wanted priesthood. See, her thinking was twisted to begin with. And just like her mother wanted a dick to swing. And those LDS church women had wanted priesthood for years. Priesthood homes are respected. Okay? But he didn't stay with that church. He joined the East Sedalia Baptist Church, where I had grown up and attended with my parents. So we attended with my parents too, and took our son. And when we didn't go, they took our son. You know? So just imagine this. The main judge in Sedalia, Missouri 65301 was LDS. Was John Myers' friend at the same church. So the rule of that town kind of has that influence of the LDS on it. Alright? So when Karen, well, there you have it. When his daughter went with them to foster care after a report that day, even though she came back in the house, excuse me, and like a knucklehead, I mean, if you're going to report someone, stay out of the zone you just reported it. You just made that place seem like, or made it known as a crime scene. Okay? The tape that was up was ours from our sidewalk thing we were doing. That's partly why we had brick to work with. We pulled some up out of all the way around the block, and it was going to use some of it back here. Alright? They took her. Might as well say LDS took her because of the judge's influence. But see, LDS has its own family services. Do you get what I'm saying? I might have to come back to this. I'm wound now. I'm amped. Thanks for watching. I'll be back.